So for the past couple of months, probably a year, I've been blogging about all the updates that we want to do for Conqueror, The Empire Rises, which is the expansion to Conqueror Final Conquest. This is the most important video that you're going to watch about this game because it's going to explain the absolute major change in terms of the turn order, and there will hopefully be another very important video about how battle mechanics have or will hopefully change in the future. There is a third big change, which is basically how you can win the game. That's already been included in the Conqueror Final Conquest updated rulebook, and obviously we're still waiting for people's feedback to judge whether that's a good idea. But I think it works best with this expansion. Anyways, long story short is the reason I didn't want to shoot this video is because none of the artwork is even close to being done. None of the visual design, none of the, everything you see here are things that I sketched literally on PowerPoint, not even Illustrator. So please excuse us for this mess. This video is really about explaining to you how this game actually works and the mechanics, and hopefully getting your feedback on this. So the major change, apart from the victory conditions, is now since we only have 10 rounds for the game, every round is made up of 5 phases instead of 2, right? In Conqueror Final Conquest. So the first phase, and this phase gets activated in round 2 and beyond, is you draw a Chronicle card. And I think you are all familiar with this phase. You draw a card, you read what's on it, it impacts all the players, and you resolve that particular card. So that's phase 1. That hasn't changed much. Some of the Conqueror Chronicle cards will be updated, some of them will be refreshed to enhance replayability, and we'll work on that with you hopefully over the next couple of months. So that's phase number 1, what we are calling the event phase, which is the Chronicle cards. The second phase is we earn income. And the major change that has happened here in earning income is previously, if I was playing as Carthage, and imagine Carthage is the first player, I would earn 2 currency to start the game. 1 for the territory for Numidia, which I control currently, and 1 for Carthage, which I also control. Both have this currency icon. Rome would only earn 1 currency. Greece would only earn 1 currency, and Egypt as well. So you just look at the number of currency icons you have and the territories you control, and you earn that income. The difference now is you also get a base income of 2. So if I was Carthage, I wouldn't just earn 2 money from my territories. I would earn an additional 2 money, which is what we're calling the base kind of income that you earn regardless of how many territories you control or how many currency icons you control. So that's the minimum income you receive per round. And so Carthage would receive 4, Rome would receive 3, 1 plus the 2 minimum income or basic income. Greece would receive 3, and Egypt would receive 3, which is 2 plus that 1. If you had a market, which we'll get to in a second, you would earn 1 currency for each market that you have. So that you earn your currency for the round. And then the third phase is, and that phase was taxes. The third phase is the policy phase. And here you have an ambassador. And again, this is just a meeple that I found. This will obviously be improved. But this ambassador can do one of 3 things. It's a worker placement mechanic where he can either go trade, he can, or she, can update or create a new military tactic, adopt a new military tactic for your armies, or you can go on the civilian route and build a building that will provide you with benefits. And just like any worker placement game, if you send that card to any location on one of those 3 tracks, so this is the military track, this is the civilian track, and then we haven't actually designed this yet, but this is a trade track, and this is I've just used bonus mission cards for illustrative purposes. You can either go trade, you can either go build a building, you can do a military, but if I go and trade, or if I go to upgrade my infantry, no one else can do this round, right? So it's a worker placement mechanic that I think everyone's familiar with. You can send people to different spaces as long as they're available, and no 2 ambassadors in this case, or meeples or workers can occupy the same position. So This is a really cool phase, and I'll get into the details as soon as I'm done with the other two phases. I want to dig deep into this because this is the newest element of the game. The fourth element of the game, or the fourth phase of the game, is the planning season. And the planning season here is, you've already earned your income, you've done these actions. Now it's time to recruit your army and your heroes. So here you can use the currency you generated. So imagine, Carthage had, let's say, 6 currency. You can use the currency you generated to buy one of your heroes. And I think, this hasn't changed from the previous game, except that you can now use heroes twice during a game. And I'll explain that in a bit. The major change is I can actually buy an elite unit. Now, this is an oversized meeple. Or miniature, excuse me. We might not be able to produce miniatures if we're not able to get a minimum 500 or 1,000 people to buy this expansion. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that number to introduce these beautiful miniatures you see. And these elite units are not recruited from forts like normal units. They are actually purchased. Each one has a price on their player board. Each elite unit, you can see, for example, the Roman Legionnaire or the companion cavalry of Greece and so forth. And I'll tell you what the battle strength of that unit is, whether it's cavalry or infantry, and any special abilities that unit has. So in this case, it's the war elephant. I would recruit it and it would be placed here in Carthage. And again, this is really big. And it has a battle strength of 4, but it's going to cost me 4 money, right? The elite unit does not count towards your food supply, which is an amazing advantage. It's also really powerful, so it has a battle strength of 4. In this particular unit, its battle strength is reduced to 2 when it's in sea battles. But additionally to that, if you lose this unit, it's gone forever. You cannot repurchase this unit. So you got to be careful with it. So, your first instinct is to attack with it, but if you lose it, it's gone forever. So you got to be really careful. There are a lot of tactics on elite units. Check our website out. We've detailed every single elite unit, what are its abilities, in addition to kind of some of the tactics that you may use for each elite unit that is very different than the other. So you can buy a hero card, you can buy an elite unit, and then you can also recruit troops. And this is the traditional element. This has not changed from the base game. A large fort can give you either a horse, a cavalry unit, or 2 infantry units, while a small fort, if you had controlled it at the beginning of the round, would give you 1 small infantry unit. The major change here is we're introducing archers. They, and again, I'm just using worker meeples here, but they work exactly like infantry units in terms of recruitment. So a large fort can recruit 2 archers, or a small fort can recruit 1 archer. And we'll detail what archers do in the battle mechanics update video that we'll shoot later on. Suffice to say that most factions only get 2 archers, or 3 archers. They're limited number of archers that you can recruit during the game, depending on your faction. So that would be phase number 4. So to recap, events, you earn your income through taxes phase. You send your ambassador to either trade and make you money, or spend money to upgrade your military or your civilian track. You then recruit heroes, you recruit troops, you recruit elite units, depending on whether you can afford it. And then the final element is the campaign season. So imagine I did pay for that elite unit. The campaign season works in exactly the same way that it used to. You can move every single unit once, and once you do, you turn it over to indicate that this unit has been exhausted. If you move into a territory controlled by another army, whether it's an independent army or another player, then that initiates the attack. So, and then after that, after your turn ends, you are able to basically, and obviously the turn order here, you know, everything that I just mentioned, you do at the same time. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4, all 4 players execute them at the same time. It's only in phase 5 where you go in turn order, where you finalize all your moves before your opponent can move, and your other opponents, and it goes clockwise in that order. So that's how it's changed. It's now 5 phases, and it's making a lot of things interesting. We basically ripped out the income from the planning phase and we put it on its own at the very beginning, which would allow you to take your time and really think about your commercial strategy. But let's focus on this. This is the most important addition that we're talking about, which is the tech tree. And again, these are not even close to being the visuals or the layout or anything along those lines. These are just made for us to explore and test the game. So if it was my turn during phase number 3, I would move my worker to do one of 3 things. I could initially trade, and again, we'll have actual trade cards here representing the factions. And to do so, I can go and trade, and I've used Persia here. Imagine it's not Persia. This would read independent armies, or independent nations. I can send my worker to the independent nations, and what that means is I would generate 1 income, and that would be the end of my worker placement task or phase. And then Rome would then use their worker to either trade or upgrade their military or civilian. However, they cannot move where an ambassador, what we call an ambassador, which is a worker, they cannot move them to this space since it's already occupied by Carthage. So Rome could choose to trade with Carthage. So this would give Rome 2 income and 1 income, excuse me, and Carthage would earn 1 income. So this is the interesting part, is if you trade with an independent nation, you and only you get 1 income. However, once that slot is gone and you want to trade, you have to trade with one of the other players, and you both earn that income for that round, which is very interesting, and it creates a lot of strategies and table talks and alliances, and trying to think about who you would benefit from trading with, and all the geopolitics that are happening. So that's one thing. Imagine that Rome had done that, and obviously it would earn that income. It would be Greece's turn, and Greece could actually, instead of trading, it can do other things. So it could go the civilian route, and this is where we talk about the civilian upgrades. And there are 4 types of upgrades. The first is to build a food storage. So right now we have this token. Obviously this will be changed. You would purchase a food storage building or upgrade, and Greece can now place it anywhere in its empire. Let's assume it chooses to place it in Macedonia. And that would allow Greece to increase its food supply currently from 2 food supply, 1 from Macedonia and 1 from Rhodes, to 3 food supply, because a food storage provides you with an extra food supply, which is very helpful if you believe that you're not going to be earning more farms, right? Carthage, I think, would benefit the most out of this, given the lack of farms available to it. And that would be the end of its round, and it would have to pay the cost of 5 currency. Another thing Greece could have done, if it had the currency, was to pay 3 money to purchase a bazaar. And a bazaar here is basically what I call, or interchangeably call, a market. It would create that bazaar, and this would give you 1 extra income when earning income during the tax phase, which is phase number 2. So that's a very useful building. Greece could also purchase a fort, and this fort not only provides a defensive bonus of 1 when being protected, it also gives you a fort that you can purchase. And if I place it in Rhodes, now Greece not only controls 1 fort, it controls 2 forts. So if it's trying to win the game, you can literally buy forts and increase your chances of securing those 5 vital forts that you need to by the end of a round, by the end of the round, and defend them for a round. So not only does it give you a defensive bonus, you can use that to recruit troops, especially if you've lost maybe some territory, and it gives you bonus points at the end of the game because you control a fort. And then you can buy the academy, and here the academy, I think the cost here is 1. So it's not that expensive. I think it's 1 or 2. I can't even read my handwriting anymore. And you would place this academy in a place like Macedonia, or you can place it any territory you control, so either Rhodes or Macedonia. And there's no limit to the amount of buildings you can place in a particular territory. You obviously can't place a fort with a fort. That's why I placed it in Rhodes, but an academy can be placed anywhere. And what an academy does, it makes your heroes cheaper. So the next time you want to purchase a hero card, instead of costing you 8 gold, it'll cost you only 6 gold. So if you want to upgrade and purchase these heroes, and you really want to focus your strategies on the hero deck that you have, this is a very vital building that can make things cheaper, and you want to probably grab it at the beginning of the game. Now you'll notice, because it's a 4-player game, you only get 2 of each building. That increases to 3 and 5 and 6-player games. So you have 4 players, but you only have 2 Bazars. So it's really about it's a very tight game where you have to think about whether you want to trade or you want to grab a building before anyone else does, if it's very important to you. So that's one action, which is civilian action. And then the final action you can do during the ambassador phase or the worker placement phase, and let's use Egypt here as an example, is you can upgrade your military. And the way this works is you can either upgrade your infantry, you can upgrade the tactics of your cavalry, your archers, or your navy. And here we don't actually have naval units. What we mean by navy is if your troops are in the sea, they are counted as a naval army, and as such you would receive these upgrades. Now the good thing about these upgrades, or the challenging thing, I might say, is the good thing is, if you keep upgrading your infantry will be almost unstoppable. But the challenging part is it gets more and more expensive with each upgrade. So you place your worker in one of these slots. Let's say I want to upgrade my infantry as Egypt. I can choose any one of those 3 upgrades, and I would have to pay 10 currency for it. So I'll read out 1 plus 1 strength for each infantry unit. So that means that my infantry unit will become as strong as my cavalry unit, and I only have to pay 10 gold for it. So what I would do here is I would take one of my tokens. This is Egypt's logo, and I would place it here under the military training, right? And this would mean that in battle, my strength would increase for every infantry unit, it would be worth 2 strength rather than 1, just as strong as cavalry. Now the next time I come here, let's say in 2 or 3 turns, and I want to increase, being a spearman increases your strength for each infantry unit when facing cavalry. So if your opponent has cavalry, your infantry unit now not only has 2 strength, it has 3 strength, which is incredible. That's an upgrade that's going to cost you 12 currency. And then finally, -1 infantry casualty when applicable. So if you lose a battle and you're supposed to lose 2 infantry, you only lose 1, right? Because you have discipline and you retreat in an orderly fashion. That's going to cost you 15 gold. And again, it's not that these things, that each tactic costs a specific amount of money. It's the first upgrade costs 10, whether it's spearman, whether it's discipline, whatever you choose. And then the next upgrade costs 12 and 15. And these tokens will give you, will track what upgrades you've done for your battles, but also on the cost and the price that you would need to pay for that. You'll do the same thing with cavalry, with archers, and with navy, though archers and navy upgrades only have 2 upgrades, and they cost 8 and 15 for archers, and 6 and 10 for the navy. in terms of the upgrades. So that's how the military tactics are upgraded. And this introduces like a really cool element in the game, because, and then, you know, after everyone's done with that phase, everyone returns their worker, because you have an opportunity to generate more income. You have an opportunity to build something that will either allow you to recruit more troops, or recruit heroes more cheaply, or generate more income, or have more food supply to build a bigger army, which is very helpful. And you also have this opportunity to permanently upgrade every single unit you have on the map of a particular type, whether it's infantry or cavalry or archers, and they're quite powerful. And as I mentioned, the more you specialize in one, the greater the benefit is, because that one unit starts packing a really strong punch. So that's how basically this tech tree, if you want to call it that, works. Again, ignore these visuals. This will be all cleaned up. But I think that's the most exciting part of the game, because it adds so much strategy in terms of how you plan, which territories you want to capture, what units you want to focus on, the type of warfare that you want to engage in. And it just adds 500 layers of complexity or depth, let's say, to the strategies you can conduct. And it's a very simple worker placement mechanic that is so easy to understand and so easy to teach. I hope that explains things from the tech tree point of view. I think what we'll do in the next video is specifically talk about some of the battle mechanics that we have in mind, and some of the various introductions that we want to make in terms of how we upgrade our battles and how we conduct our battles. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon.